Can everybody shout hey yo to Mrs. Couch Potato? She's in her own world in the state of San Diego. Drives a 98, her wage of mine is way low.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, attack helicopters, or, cargo vehicles, as Shane likes to have it. Welcome to the first ever live stream for the Rejected Potato Skins podcast. I'm your host, Edward, and I created a support group called MILF, which stands for Man I Love Oreos Anonymous. It's a group where we help Oreo addicts with their addiction, continuing their addiction, that is.
I'm Shane. I don't just beat my meat. I truly defeat my meat. Welcome back.
God. All right. If you thought I was a bad influence, we're even. Okay. You know what? We're even.
This is live.
I know. We're actually live, so you can't take that back. I really set you up there, didn't I?
Thank you for that. If you guys don't know, yeah. Well, Edward chooses my
Well, no. This is what you do for a living.
This is what I do for a living.
That is what you actually do for a living. You teach people not just how to beat it, but to defeat it. That sounds
just beat
like
it, right?
Rip off of we do Michael Jackson rip-offs here.
Oh,
Speaking of bad influences, what are you drinking over there? You told me earlier you were gonna go grab something. So what do you got over there?
I want you to guess. What do you think I'm drinking?
Well,
it's not something sophisticated. It's pretty basic.
You and I are both white trash Southern California-ers.
Oh yes.
So it's probably a margarita. It's probably a margarita of some sort.
You're right on the money. It's a margarita.
It is a margarita. Okay.
Just basic margarita mix from the store. But
oh my god, you somehow combined being from California and a basic bitch in a basic margarita.
Ouch.
There you go.
And what about you?
That's okay. I have the same thing. So I was about to say.
Do you really?
We're with you.
Oh my gosh! Of course you do. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, it's good. You can't beat a classic margarita.
No, I'm so used to in video games where, you're playing a video game and you get a little bit of latency where you just drag your mouse and then nothing happens for a second. This causes in real life latency. So I move my head and then it takes me a second for the rest of my body to catch up to it. So it's like my dad and I have been exploring you know what Cutwater is? You heard of that?
Cutwater Spirits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have a ton of canned cocktails and stuff like that, from like White Russians to Old Fashions. They have a Negroni, I think, as well. I thought I saw that a while back. And then they also have like mojitos and margaritas, and we've tried a few of them, and just for a canned beverage, it's pretty good. Like there are some Mexican restaurants I've been to that have lesser quality margaritas than the stuff that have come out of that can. So, like that being said, I'm not going to let myself be defeated by a canned beverage. So, how I had to do it better myself. But
oh my goodness.
Nonetheless, this is I definitely needed this after the last 3 or 4 days. So.
You want to tell everyone kind of what you've been, how your week's been?
Death, slowly, painfully, all the time. Yeah, so this was my spring break this last week, and one of the aspects of spring break is, if you've fallen behind a little bit on, homework assignments, projects, etc., this is your time to get caught up. And there were 3 classes, I believe, that I had some makeup assignments to do due to some scheduling conflicts a couple weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was, going through it, I realized, oh my God, I actually have a lot more homework than I anticipated that I was going to have. So that sucks. And to compound that, Windows decided for whatever reason that I was part of their developer team and gave me the developer edition of Windows. So my graphics card doesn't work, My camera doesn't work. My microphone barely works. My Ethernet cable does not work. I'm actually going off of Wi-Fi. And every time I try to load up a USB device into a program, Windows crashes. So
Don't you
I've
love
been
it?
dealing with. What's up?
Don't you love it?
Oh, yeah, because the one thing that I really love is when I desperately need my computer to be reliable, it does absolutely nothing that I want it to do. And so, yeah, gonna have to reformat this thing soon. But hopefully, there's new Intel 12th gen PCs coming out soon. So, once that tax return hits, you know what I'm going for.
Have you done your taxes yet? Did you have taxes this year?
Yeah, because
That's right. Yeah.
my job, yeah. So, yeah, I should see something because I'm an idiot and forgot to claim myself during the process because I looked at it and there was like stuff in my paychecks that didn't quite look right, and then I realized I never claimed myself, and I was like, oh crap! So I have to wait like 3/4 of a year to get it all back. I mean, it's not all bad though, because it's not like I needed that extra stuff, but because I mean, it really does help. I mean, let's just say this: if I had that money earlier, I probably would have done something like, oh, I don't know, bought a different laptop that I wasn't supposed to.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe go to a winery maybe 2 or 3 more times than before. Maybe I don't know, just get my girlfriend a new graphics card. For some reason, one of those other different things. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't have it at that time, but it'll be nice to have it soon because that'll definitely be a morale boost.
My taxes are such a mess that I had to hire someone to do it.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
Between
You have your e-golf that you can like. you
yes,
can
actually.
claim something through, what is it, like the power company gives you like, not really. It's not a kickback, but it's like a tax credit up to like a certain amount of money or something, whatever that is, in order because you have an electric vehicle right now.
So yeah, I mean that I get a tax credit on that. I invested in stocks last year. For those of you guys who don't
Really?
know,
Oh yeah, that's right. You bought a skateboard with Dogecoin.
yes. So when Dogecoin was blowing up, I invested in Dogecoin. It had two pretty big jumps. It had the first initial jump, and then it kind of started going down, and then it had a massive jump. I sold on the first jump just to be safe, and I bought a skateboard, an electric skateboard with it, which goes 32 miles an hour and is all-wheel drive. Do I regret not, keeping the stock and selling it when it's higher? No, not really, because it's a gamble with that kind of stock. It was a very volatile stock. I kind of knew, and I already made. I invested. I think it was $200 or something, and I made like, I don't know, $800,000 off of it or something. I had a really good return on that. And I'm not a huge stock person. I don't do too many stocks right now, so. For me, it was just dipping my toes in the water. I kind of knew it was going to be, a quick, fast investment on my return. It was pretty much guaranteed with the way that was going at the time. So I did that. Don't take my advice for stocks. By the way, I'm not a financial advisor on that. So I have to obviously get that going on my taxes. I briefly, last year when I was in between jobs, I did some stuff for Instacart. And then I worked out of state a little bit, and somehow I thought that it was at the very tail end, and technically I didn't work into the new year, but it looks like I got one last paycheck that kind of bled into the new year, so I'm going to have to deal with that for an out-of-state tax. And then the fact that I have like 3 different W-4s because of several different jobs that did not pan out for various reasons that were out of my control, obviously, as you know. I've been unlucky. But that being said, I did get a new job offer, as you know, working as a train attendant for the local train station, which is interesting the way I found it. It has good pay, really good benefits. To me, the appeal is the fact that it is there's kind of just there are plans and there's a possibility for a full career there down the road. You can work your way all the way up to a conductor or an engineer, and you get paid really well, and you can transfer within the company. It's a really big international company. Still pending some background checks and stuff I got to go through. It's a very long process, a lot of paperwork I've been filling out the past couple days. But once all that gets through, I'm supposed to start in the next week and a half, 2 weeks. So I'm really excited for that. I've just been, as you guys know, as I always talk about, I was in live events, and obviously I'm looking for a new career, new industry. I think I found it, so that's really cool. So hopefully I get my taxes done. I sent it to this professional just because I have so many tax forms I have to fill out for that, and hopefully I'll get this going, and hopefully next year it'll be a little easier on myself. Yeah.
The cool thing about this potentially is similar to how I think you originally wanted to be a flight attendant.
Right.
Like this gives you the opportunity to travel and see certain places without having to pay for it necessarily. I mean that's gonna be cool though, because like one of the things that you and I have talked about before is the idea that it's like when like I think it was like back when we were kids, it's like we would always like talk about like what do we actually want to do on vacation. It's pretty much just like we would go to the Wave and then we would come home, eat a bunch of Hot Pockets, and then play like Call of Duty, throw darts and stuff like that, and then just like go biking or whatever it is that we were doing. But we were trying to find ways of just taking advantage of any time off that we had, and we would I think we decided that we wanted to take a trip up and down the coast back in 2020, which you ended up starting like a week before my finals, and then after that it was you went all the way up and down California, I think, and you kind of reported back and stuff like that. And so the fact that like, you'll be able to like do that and not have to pay these absurd gas prices that we have going on right now is pretty cool. So I look forward to some of your stories coming up.
Thanks, man. I think it'll be good, and you and I are definitely going to do our own little coastal trip, hopefully in the not so distant future coming up here.
It feels like a long way away just because of where I am in school and stuff like that right now, and all the headaches that I have to do. But let's see, today's the 26th or whatever it is. So yeah, I get out in a little shy of 2 months. I think it's like 6 or 7 weeks left I have, and so yeah, that'll be
my man's in the home stretch.
Yeah, God, it's weird. Like the closer and closer I get to it, it feels like the closer and closer I get to it, the more it tries to resist. There's all this type of like registration I have to go to, institutions I'm fighting and stuff like that, doing all the makeup stuff, and really just trying to avoid being squeezed even more and more, and
just trying to apply to walk, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to walk out here. Yeah, that's right. That in itself is a weird scenario, because it's like everyone keeps telling me it's like, oh yeah, you can like walk at spring, and I'm like, yeah, if I just snuck into line with a gown on, I could have done that last year, but I didn't do that. So it's just I truly want to graduate and then not have to worry about classes anymore during the summer, because as you and I keep talking about, like this might be the first time that we actually have a summer with little to no COVID restrictions in 3 years. And I don't know about you, but that seems like a perfect opportunity to try to, get back into the flow of things that we were in 3 years ago, and make the most of that.
No, I totally agree. And I think that's
and see friends that we haven't seen in ages.
Right, and also I mean it's funny you mentioned that, because it's like we've been talking. It's when we were younger, we wanted to play video games. We wanted to go play Modern Warfare 3 Survival and eat Hot Pockets all day. And now we still like to do that stuff, but now we want to go out. We want
A
to.
juggernaut coming down from the helicopter.
When you got 2 of them coming in, right? And you got the attack dogs and the bomb
you
squad.
only have an MP7. You
Oh
only
my
have
gosh.
An MP7, and you're just like, hey, Shane.
And you're on
You got a
Bakara.
sniper rifle nearby, right? You got the RPG? No? Please? Please?
We got to do a throwback to that. Like, re-download the new Modern Warfare and do survival on that one. We should do that.
Oh, God, yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, no, that would be really, really fun. Oh, yeah, that's right. We used to do that all the time.
Mm-hmm. And the new Modern Warfare
Oh
has
my
survival.
gosh.
I've tried it out. It's decent. It's not the best, but it's still pretty fun. And I like the new Modern
I'm
Warfare.
going to have to come over to your house because you have better internet than I do. And actually, no, both of us should go to my school because
There we
my
go.
school has
NASA internet.
500 megabit per second downloads over Wi-Fi.
That's
In
crazy.
the courtyard. Like, dude, literally, like, I would be sitting out in the courtyard, you know, watching videos of, like, football players that I used to play with, you know, back in Pop Warner, but now they're making millions of dollars.
I'm sorry. Did you mean
Yeah,
Linus Tech
that's
Tips? Got him.
I plead the fifth. But yeah, dude, it's like just sitting there eating Panda Express in the middle of a courtyard and downloading a 250 gigabytes game over Wi-Fi is absolutely nuts. You know, actually, you have a laptop now, so all you have to do is just come with me, download it onto an SSD or something like that, and that way you don't have to bring your like 200-pound brick of a mobile laptop, mobile desktop with you to my.
It's not that
my
bad.
school. No, that was the old one. The old one was
The old one
brick
with the
that
liquid
took
cooling.
2 of us to carry.
That thing was massive. For those of you who don't know, I used to have a liquid cooling PC. We redid it with hard tubing. Anyways.
Yeah, and I made the mistake of putting the input and the output of one tube on the same plane facing the same direction. So the pressure just shot the tube up anytime anytime the D5 pump ran into a snag.
About 6 months before we had replaced the tubing in there, or attempted to, and then that PC was done for. I also built a second PC because I was traveling a lot at the time. That's basically a little bigger than, like, what would you say, an Xbox One?
Yeah, my Xbox One from back in the day. Yeah,
The original Xbox One. It's just a little bigger than that, so it's pretty compact. And I've got a bag that fits it in there with all the cables. And it's all air cooled.
I'm surprised you found a backpack for that thing.
It's a great backpack.
I have a problem finding backpacks for my 17-inch laptop that I used to have.
And I fit my freaking full gaming PC in there.
Yeah,
with an RTX 2070 Super.
Yeah, you actually have like a CPU that does not bottleneck it. So.
Oh my gosh.
And meanwhile, I'm over here with a 3070 Ti that he can't even use because of a freaking Windows installation.
Yeah, so we were trying to do this. We were talking about doing the stream and everything. We were trying to figure stuff out, and Edward's been having, as he was talking earlier, problems with his PC with the Windows. What was it? The beta program, which you didn't sign up for, but it just automatically.
I always knew that
clicked you on?
Minecraft would come back to screw me at some point.
Minecraft.
Because so here's my conspiracy theory, okay? So
we're doing conspiracy theories now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is like I got like a Reynolds wrap in the corner.
All right, I'm ready.
For just this moment. All right.
Oh wait. Before you do that.
Oh God, what are you gonna do?
I'm just gonna.
Oh.
I'm Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help.
All right, and we're back.
Oh no. Okay. So, yeah, my theory is, remember when Minecraft RTX came out?
Uh-huh.
So you had to be an Xbox insider in order to get that functionality, which meant that you could not play regular Minecraft anymore. So, but I wanted to experience what Minecraft RTX was like. So I had to sign up for their developer program. So, in my opinion, I think what happened.
So you
was
live
I
inside
tried to
your
play-
Xbox now, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think Microsoft thought, oh, he's running Minecraft RTX. He's a developer. Let's give him the shitty version of our operating system.
Oh gosh.
Let's give him the operating system that doesn't quite work yet and that disables literally every feature of his computer. Oh god.
And that's what happened. You can't even get your camera to work on Discord. It just disconnects.
No, it just yeah, it just restarts.
Oh my gosh.
Like, oh god, this is the equivalent of like, you know that SpongeBob meme where Patrick has like that piece of wood nailed to his head
Yes.
and he keeps trying to walk in. That's me trying to solve any issue in my computer right now. It's like, it doesn't work. Let me try it again. Dunk. Nope. I think I'll try it again. Dunk. Dunk. And I'm just like, I'm literally fulfilling Einstein's definition of insanity right now. 'Cause
Yes! Yes! Come to Papa!
I'm down every time. It's just,
Oh my gosh, that is too good. So I can't. I feel so bad for you through. I mean, you'll get figured out, but now you know. Just for those of you guys out there, don't do the Windows Xbox Insider. Don't do the Windows beta. It just
never do any
just stick
like
to the
beta
official build.
drivers. Don't do any of that. Like even
my
I
gosh.
guess like if there's like if there's a beta build of a video game that you want to play, sure, but don't make it like an important piece of software that like
affects
I don't
every
know,
single
causes
program
the-
you run.
yeah.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's I don't even know how. It's like there are things that I've updated. I've tried everything, and now the thing that I realize most of all is that it's just oh my god.
You could. All right, chat. Let's get F's in the chat for my boy Eddie. Eddie boy, F's in the chat. Oh my gosh. So I mean,
What was it? I've never had good computer luck or anything.
yeah. That's how it is, right?
Yep.
I mean, at this point, let's just walk away and go out and go on a train ride somewhere up the coast. Because that's what
That
we like
sounds
doing
lovely.
nowadays, right? That sounds nice, right?
That actually sounds preferable, actually.
That would be preferable. That would be the preferable option.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
100%, that is what I'd prefer to do.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh, but no, I mean, you know, like the more and more I think about this, you know, the more and more that I keep thinking about, like, you know, how much, like, for example, how much gas prices are now, and how it there are kids that go to my school that, like, our professors at the university are having to, they are actually telling students that, hey, we're gonna do half online, half in person now. Because gas prices are so high, there are actually people that cannot afford to drive to school right now. And, you know, I think, you know, my girlfriend had a story about one of her classes, like half the people stopped showing up. I don't know if that was a continuous thing or if that was just a one-time thing, but half the people like stopped showing up after like the oil crisis began. And, you know, they just can't afford to, you know, drive to class, because a lot of people, like, my university is a, you know, it's more of a commuter school. I think only like 25% of the students live on campus.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's like, so that means the vast majority of people are driving there, and the vast majority of those students actually can't afford to live within like 10 miles of the school. So you have students that are coming from like 40, 50 minutes away from like the Inland Empire and like Poway coming to the school, and that's not a cheap drive. I think like with my car right now, a full tank of gas costs like $100.
Jeez.
And that gets me like 270 miles of range.
I have three
Like,
words
even
for you,
at
Edward. 3 words.
Oh, I'm sure I have no idea what it's going to be.
E-Golf, go, E.
So another podcast episode of ours. So go check that out after the live stream ends if you want to know more about.
Check out the
the
E-Golf Go
electric
E
cars.
podcast episode.
Yes.
Oh
But,
my gosh.
No, it's like the more and more I think about it, it's
Mhm.
it's like, you know, I think of things like that, and you know, like the traveling crisis, and then just this insane amount of pressure that, you know, I find that comes about from you know, just trying to, you know, get out there in the real world, but at the same time trying not to get out there so fast that I have no idea what I'm doing yet. And you know, also just trying to balance like the idea of like I'm ready for everything, but at the same time I'm not ready for anything. And that sort of mentality like has caused, I think, many people in the last 2 years like to have like an existential crisis about what they want to do or what they value. And you know, I think you and I started off earlier talking about like, you know, when we were kids, our definition of a vacation was the Wave Water Park, Hot Pockets, and Call of Duty survival. You know, and it's sort of like I guess once the pandemic hit and once a lot of my classes started to hit, and you know, once I actually started like working like service jobs here and there, or you know, just basic remedial jobs just to make some money, you know, while I was going to school, it really put my perspective into focus about how lucky we are to live where we are. And any chance we can get to go out and experience like even the most minor of things, like, you know, going out to like a rooftop bar that's part of a hotel that is built around a movie set location from the movie Top Gun. Like, there's only one place in the country for that, and you know, it's a really, really cool place. And because it was taken away from us for the last 2 years, it felt like, you know, I would never get to see it again. And so whenever I have that ability to go back and, you know, just relax or just to experience what it's like, the, you know, the idiosyncrasies of the area that we live in, I want to do that, you know? And that's something that you can only really realize, I think, once you've seen what it's like to live without it. And, you know, I'm sure you have your own version of this as well, but yeah, that's something that I think a lot of people our age, a lot of students coming up, and even maybe some adults like 40 years down the line in their job are thinking, you know, like, where did the time go? And it's like, well, you know, take advantage of your time off to go do the things that you've always wanted to do. And even if it's something small, try it, you know, because you never know how much you'll end up loving it. And it exposes you to so many new things that, you know, hopefully not bad things like a deadly virus or anything else, but, you know, just, you know, just things that, you know, I think like Ewan McGregor in that Expedia commercial used to say, it's like, do those things so that you look back on life and don't go, man, I regret not taking that trip to that place that I could have gone.
I mean, it's funny you bring that up. Tonight before the live stream, I met with some friends. I have 2 friends who moved out of state, and they're in town right now. And so we got together, and it was my friend's daughter's birthday. And so they brought a couple of their friends together, and we all got together. And we've all been friends for years and years and years. And we just caught up tonight by the fire. And I was kind of telling them about everything going on with me since...
Sorry, margarita.
No worries. Ever since the pandemic started, and whether it was from my career change to trying these different jobs, as well as all the crazy stories I have, which some of them are on our channel and some will be told in the future, such as, you know, the Liftgate scare one, or flooding a hotel, which is one I haven't told yet, and other crazy stories that I have. Yeah. But I was telling him about all this stuff. I mean, well, the hotel one was a long time ago. That one wasn't in the past 2 years. But
Okay, 'cause I was like, wait, what?
Working security for GoPro for a week, overnight security, just doing all these sort of odd jobs, hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, catching my friend's house on fire. That did happen since the pandemic started, as you normally do.
My name is Shane, and welcome to Jackass.
Right. And kind of after saying, telling them all about that, they were telling me like, wow, you've done a lot since like the pandemic started, or since, we last really all got together and talked. And I think I'm always so worried as a person. I'm so aware of it. I'm almost hyper aware. It's almost to an obsession where it's not healthy, of not wasting my time, where I even think through all that, I forget about all that stuff that I do. And this isn't me trying to brag, but it's just through all that stuff that I do, I forget, like, I've actually done a lot throughout the pandemic. A lot of stuff's changed. I've done a lot of cool stuff, a lot of not cool stuff. I've been thankful that I've had a lot of experiences, and I push myself to get out of my comfort zone and try new things, go out of state, do these different things. And kind of, I didn't really realize that until tonight, talking to my friends around the campfire, because they kind of said like, wow, like you've done a lot since we last talked. And the last time we talked wasn't that long ago, but we haven't really all sat down and actually talked about what we've been doing since that started. And to finally talk to them about that and kind of see someone else's perspective on everything I've been doing, and kind of, I've been thinking, I know I've been doing a lot lately, but I haven't felt like it's been fully fulfilling. I've been struggling a lot with trying to find a new career and stuff, and just feeling unfulfilled in that area. But I haven't also, that's been taking my focus away from everything that has been good in my life that I've been able to do since then. From you and me starting this podcast and this creative project that we have with our New Year's resolution of doing this for 1 year, which is such an amazing opportunity. I'm so happy that we're doing it. I love it. Doing this live stream and stuff too. I mean, who would have thought we'd be here doing a live stream, in March, like 2022. It's crazy. To starting a car club that we had, to doing to going to Idaho and having a guy smash a glass window and having to call the police on him, and which is another crazy story, and having a guy's blood on my hands because he fell down the stairs and I had to rush to his help.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh god.
This is all stuff that's happened in less than 2 years. My friends were like, you should write an autobiography or something. I was like, yeah, thanks.
No, I was going to say, like, even more than that, like, the movie 1917?
Yeah.
It's just one continuous cut. You could probably do a movie of 1917. Oh my gosh. It's called Holiday 2020. And it's just you over 3 days. Just one continuous shot of, like, a guy being abusive and getting carried down by cops on snowmobiles to like an epidemic breakout during, like, in the dorms, and then like continuing it on to like an apocalypse style event where that guy falls down the stairs and you're basically carrying him out like a soldier in the middle of war. Like dude, you could honestly make that, and it would I mean, I'd go watch it just to see what actually it probably felt like to be in that position. Because,
and again, I'm not like sharing that stuff to try to brag or anything, but it's just I think even me, who again is so hypersensitive to my time and stuff, I do sit a lot at home, regardless of, I do share these stories and people are like, wow, you're doing a lot in your life. Yes, but there's also a lot of times where I'm just laying in my room doing nothing. But then I think back on all these stories that I've had just from the past 2 years, and that's not counting everything else just in the past 10 years, which is insane, the amount of crazy stuff I've done since then with you and with other people. And I think back on that stuff, and I just have to constantly remind myself, like, no, you're doing good. You're doing everything you can given the circumstances, and to you as well, with school and everything going on for you and trying to graduate in the midst of a pandemic. Like, you're doing good too, man. We're doing the best we can. And I think we've also, for the most part, made the best use of our time. I mean, again, look at this podcast that we've created and all the creative processes that we've gone to create this. We had extra time, and I'm not going to speak for you, but I love doing this stuff, and I love working on the podcast and getting this stuff going. I think we're going to think down the road 5-10 years, and we're going to think back on the pandemic, whether you believe in the virus or not, whether you're against the vaccine or not. We're not talking about that. I'm just talking about the event as a whole and kind of how it affected everyone, and kind of how everyone utilized their time during that. And also, I mean, first of all, I think we're going to look back on that, and I think we're going to feel pretty good about ourselves and just everything that we did in the midst of that. I don't think we wasted our time. I think we've been doing pretty good. But also to that extent, I also wanted to talk to you really quick through the pandemic, there's been this change, this shift, this dynamic of how people view work, how people view a work-life balance. People are shifting careers, as is evidenced with me too. I've shifted careers. A lot of people are changing that dynamic, whether it is changing careers, whether it is wanting more time off, better pay, better benefits, being treated better from the employers, or maybe it's something as simple as working from home. A lot of people are finding that they want to work from home now. We're seeing a lot of that nowadays, and kind of we're seeing employers finally pay the brunt of that, of, hey, you need to actually pay us fair pay and fair wages. That's not for everyone, obviously. There are people who pay plenty, and it's not an issue everywhere, but I feel like a lot of employers are seeing that now, and a lot of people aren't going to be going to a job just because they need a job anymore. Like, the job market's pretty big right now. It's tightened up a little bit, but overall throughout the pandemic, I feel like it's really opened up.
Unemployment's dropped significantly. But
Oh, definitely.
I think the mentality of people has certainly changed.
Mm-hmm. It definitely has.
Yeah, there's because I think you were telling me this story about like a guy that you were working with where, maybe before the pandemic he would have held on to his job for as long as he could until he could find something else, but like, he couldn't stand working for a guy that you had worked with. And so he just put in his 2 weeks because he just couldn't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And he left. No remorse, I don't want to say remorse, but like regret, no regret in his action in hindsight. Like whatever regret in hindsight. Whatever,
and completely changed his industry.
Yeah.
He went from film to doing, what was it? To doing website designs. Like, still creative sides, but different sides of the industry.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I told you about this guy that I used to work with at one of my previous jobs. He was like one of only 3 guys that worked at that job with me.
Uh-huh.
He was that guy that like people thought like my boss thought had stolen his vehicle control unit.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he came into this with like basic experience in like a couple of different things, and then while I was working for him, he picked up like a CAD program. Like he picked up Fusion 360, and he was actually designing CAD parts for us. Like he designed a pump module for us, so that way we could like, design things like, dimensions and, how things kind of look, inside vehicle parameters or whatever. And, eventually when he got fed up, he left. And then he started working for a company that like installed like fire suppression systems in buildings, eventually becoming a contractor. And he like moved out to like the East Coast and everything. And then he came back still doing contract work. And then he was going to try it. Like he and I were originally going to leave that place together and go work for this battery company, where like it was a nearby battery company where we were just going to like try to like install and design battery modules for things like forklifts and industrial machines and stuff like that. And it was actually, funny enough, it was nearby a gym that I used to go to, so I could have said hi to all of the Tanner Foxes of the world who were going by it. And and that's a story I haven't told you, where I ended up like, I'll tell you that one another time. But
okay,
it's but yeah, I think that whole shift, I think specifically for you and me, it's affected us a lot. Because I would say that like 3 years ago, you and I were basically hustlers at this point. We were trying to learn as much as we could and rank up in our jobs and our industry as much as we could, because we couldn't stomach the idea of like these like stoner high school dropout guys being better than us, because we knew so much more than they did.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like, those guys, like I remember I could not stomach the idea that guy. There's one particular guy I'm thinking of. I could not stand the idea that this guy who would fight with his wife every day when he came into work, and he would play adult content over the speakers
Jeez.
of the entire facility whilst in the bathroom, and sometimes not in the bathroom. It's just like there was no way I was gonna let him like beat me to this. But what I eventually realized was like, hey, and again, that's where like the pandemic took that ability away from me to like go skiing. Because remember, you and I went skiing in 2019 and stuff like that, just on a whim.
Right. That was a fun trip.
Right. And so when we couldn't do that, it was like, oh my God, all these things that I had ideas of going to do eventually, like we just can't do it anymore. And so that I think was the thing that changed me from being like, hey, I need to be a hustler and I just need to like start my own business and do all this other stuff, to, hey, I value having these things to go do that relieves me of stress. And if I can't go do that, then I'm not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying it. So
I'm curious then, changing into that mindset for you and being in the position where you're at, where you're about to graduate and go into the workforce potentially, and kind of seeing, kickstarting your career. I mean, how has that changed in the past, since the pandemic started, basically? I mean, how has that changed kind of what you had planned to what you're thinking about now, if it's changed at all?
I think when I first entered the pandemic, I think my family and my friends, and maybe like even my girlfriend can confirm this, I was constantly trying to like learn how to do certain things, right? Because I remember that project that I told you about where I wanted to take like a Microsoft Surface tablet and dock it to a car and
That's
make
right.
that like the car's brain.
Uh-huh.
I ended up designing my own software that could like replace like your door locks and your engine start, and it could become like a phone app where it took like biometric authentication to trigger the action. I got that running. Like I actually got that running, and and I was like, oh my God, I'm on my way. And then like during the pandemic, I was like, oh crap, I don't have any money to go out and try to actually buy all these things to go make it work, and I don't have the time or the resources to dedicate to this all the time. And I think what slowly began to eat away at me was this idea of like, oh crap, I'm stuck.
That's how I felt.
Oh crap! Like I've been draining all my time and effort into these like little niche things, and I haven't really focused on anything bigger picture.
I totally get what you mean.
And so it was probably around, oh, I don't know, sometime in like late October of 2020 that my mindset just kind of flipped. It was around that time. I mean, that was 7 months into the pandemic at that point, so it took me a bit longer than I anticipated. But, at that point, I think the burnout from the pandemic had actually set in. Because before, I was like, oh my God, like, it's so quiet, traffic is so good, and no one's out here and there, and, everything feels so great. Then I just started to feel burnt out because I ran out of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, that ultimately led me to believe, okay, whatever I'm going to do in life now, it has to involve doing these specific things. Because I was hanging out with you more. I was hanging out with our mutual friend group that we had.
Right.
And, I was hanging out with my girlfriend more, and I was getting out and exercising and actually seeing parts of the landscape that I'd actually never been to before. And then when I myself, oh man, I'm going to go back to school and hustle just to work in a garage and never see a sunlight again? Like what? It just was like, that makes no sense anymore. Like that makes no sense anymore. I mean, I get that's a life for some people, but that wasn't for me. I'm an extroverted guy who loves to try new things and loves to do a lot of things, and I'm still physically capable of doing a lot of things. Like, I don't have chronic pain, I don't have any broken bones, I don't have any existential health issues or chronic health issues. I still have that, so why not use it rather than create those problems for myself in the first place? And from there on out, the mindset is now find a place, like, I actually have like a criteria now for a company. They have to follow the 3 C's. Not the three C's in thick, like my dating advice book contains, but the the 3 C's of like company policy. It's culture. It's got to have a great culture. It's got to have a place that is welcoming, not intimidating, is easy to get along with and sort of, keep pace. The second thing is communication, the ability to talk to everybody and not be afraid to tell anybody anything. I think that's a strong requirement. And then the third thing is consistency. I hate the idea of like going into work one day and then it's like completely boring and I'm only doing stuff for like a few hours and then I'm just sitting on my keister for the rest of it and just trying to figure out what to do. And I've run through 5 podcasts already and I'm like totally done. And the only thing I have left is the Joe Rogan show, and I'm not doing that. So it's like...
You'd rather listen to Rejected Potato Skins.
I would.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. So it's just... and so... But then at the same time, it's like there are other days where it's going to be... if a company is like, oh, there's nothing to do this day, but then the next day is like a crunch day of like 10 to 12 hours, and you don't get a real lunch. You have to... pick stuff up and tear things down, and you have no idea what your objective is. That's miserable. So to identify all 3 things in a company where you can find that the management is actually decent. I'm not saying it has to be perfect because there's no such thing, but decent enough that it's respectful. They communicate with you clearly so that you're never lost in that. And, it's consistent. The work is consistent so I can get into a routine with my physical health and mental health. Mm-hmm. I can take care of a lot of the rest from there. I mean, I can take care of my own food from there. Like, I can cook. I can go exercising. I know how to do all those things. I can find new places to go in my free time. Like, I don't need a place to take up unused time that I'd use to become, like, an addict or something like that. I don't need assistance with that. I just need something good enough to where I can balance my own life.
Right.
And that I think is something that you actually helped me inspire, the list of the 3 C's, because I think those were kind of the issues that you found were the biggest problems in the companies that you worked for, right?
I mean, the industry overall, I found. In the live event industry, I kind of was evaluating and I said, hey, realistically, doing what I'm doing now, I can only do it for another 5-10 years physically. My body just is not going to be able to keep up. I was in a very physical position, and given I would probably be in a higher up position by then, you're still very involved. And I kind of had to see, hey, 5-10 years down the road, this isn't realistically something that I want to be doing forever. And also, like you said, I kind of saw some of those values that weren't prevalent within that work culture in that industry, especially too with live events. It was work, work, work 24/7. And as you know, you can probably attest to this and tell the audience there was a lot of times where I wasn't around when I was working in that industry. I was working a lot of 12-hour days, doubles, overtime. I was working weekends. You know how many shows I was doing. I was traveling a lot, which was fun.
I think you once told me about a day where you worked 18 hours straight, and you were leaving the warehouse right as another crew was coming in.
That was when I did a show.
Yeah. They were like, "Hey," you guys are in early. It's like, actually, no, we just got back. And they were like, "Wait, what?" And you said, "Yeah, we just got back." And the look on their faces was crazy.
That was the Palm Desert show. Yeah, that was...
That's right.
That in our yeah, it was our coworker got there, and then our warehouse manager. We waited probably about 15 minutes, and our warehouse manager came in, and he kind of asked about, what's going on, blah blah, and it was crazy. And
I've
after
never
experiences
heard you
like that,
happy for a manager before until that point.
yeah,
You were so like, you know what? If I get hit, I get hit. If
Yep.
he gets hit by something, he gets hit by something. Like, I don't care. I want to go home. I want to go to bed. I'm done.
there
And then he,
is.
tried to call you in like 6 hours later for something, didn't he?
Yeah, I went back eventually, but we got to go home and sleep a little. And I mean, I've been doing that kind of schedule. I mean, it's tech. It's the stuff that you do in the live event industry. I've been doing that stuff since high school. Even when I was doing show choir and stuff, we had long days. We'd go for the girls group. We'd stay all day, and we wouldn't come home till 4 the next morning. So I kind of prepared myself for that, but that becomes harder to do as you get older. And I'm not old. I'm really young, but I don't want to be doing that when I'm old. So
Right.
people always say if you want to make a change, now's the time to do it at our age. It's a lot easier to change careers and change industries at this point than it is when you're older. It's not impossible, but plan ahead. And, I was very passionate about that industry, and I like doing that stuff. But you can turn that into a hobby. You can do something professionally, something that you make money for. It doesn't have to be something that you're super passionate about. You would prefer that it would be, but you don't want it to be like your number one thing, because when you start to, do what you love to make money, it becomes more of a necessity than a want. You're going to do it because you have to. You're doing it because you need to clock your hours, because you need that paycheck. You're not doing it because you want to, because you want to put in the time. You want to, you have a passion for that. It becomes a necessity versus a want. And that was a big thing that I had to separate. I kind of had to see, well, I like doing live events. I like doing lighting, audio, video. Even, I mean, this all translates directly into this live stream. The only reason I know how to do this stuff is because of the industry I was in. I enjoy doing this stuff, but I don't want to do it 24/7. And it took me a couple of years to realize that. I do think you should still be able to enjoy your work. That's a different discussion. But you don't need to have it be your number one hobby or the number one thing that you're passionate about, even for you with cars and stuff. I think you're finding out, whatever you might decide to do, it might not have anything to do with cars. I know you have your ideas for your project and stuff and your project build. I think you can even attest to this. Working in that industry, you get to see all the caveats and kind of the ins and outs of the industry, and you get to see some dark sides of the industry that you didn't think of before. You get to see the parts of the industry that you're not interested in, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the number one thing that became very apparent to me is the world of small business is ruthless. You basically do, like, and I'm not saying the people are necessarily ruthless, like they don't, like they're psychopaths, because that's not true. But you have to give up a lot to maintain a small business, because in reality there's a lot of factors that stop small businesses from growing easily, which I won't get into now, but just like, but it's the people that work in those industries that kind of put me on edge a little bit, because you know exactly what kind of guy that I'm talking about. There's the guy that thinks that he's the best in the world at something. He could never work for someone other than himself. Just an absolute, like,
I know who you're referencing.
Yeah, you know who I'm referencing, but you know someone.
I can also know someone from my personal life, as well,
yes.
I guess for my career life.
Yeah, so there's definitely that type of person is like that. It's not sustainable, because if you don't have 100% of everything in common, it gets very tiring and you get burnt out super easily, because as soon as you try to mention anything to them, because a lot of times in a project, especially in the arts or the, I guess you could call the production industry, the art, the the arts industry, or like anything surrounding the arts industry, really, and like the engineering and like product division or product design. It's all egos. Everyone who runs those types of things are egomaniacs. They believe that they have the most creative influence. They believe they're going to be the next like, you know, Elon Musk or like J.J. Abrams, or, you know, they're going to start like the newest economic revolution. Like they're going to be those like influencers that have the worst haircuts in the world, driving around like Nissan GTRs with pearlescent paint colors. And it's just, when that gets old fast. Like I could only tolerate that for about a month before I started to think,
And they don't change.
oh my god. No, they don't.
Unfortunately.
They never see the error of their ways, because at the end of the day,
And that's what keeps them as a small business. That's what separates them from the ones that, you know, blow up and become huge businesses that you take seriously, from the ones that you know of that stay small business for 5, 10, 20 years, and they don't move much.
No, I mean, the last guy that I worked for, I have not seen anything of his in the news recently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I look up the things that from the industry that I came from. I have not seen anything. Like, I still talk to one of my coworkers who was previously from there, but like, I'm sure he still has clients.
And for clarity, we're not trying to put him down or anything, but like, I saw this too on a personal level from when I went into the film industry. I worked for a great guy, and it was just a situation where it was a small business kind of thing, and I kind of saw he wasn't going to change, and fortunately, it doesn't work. And the sooner you can identify that, the better.
You know what I think it is? I think I've come up with the term for it.
What is it?
It's the high highs and the low lows. That is, no, I mean, honestly, because like you joined, like he pressured you to join like in a week. Because you were originally like, yeah, give me an offer. I'll see you in 2 weeks. And he was like, no, I want you to come in like tomorrow. And you're just like, well, it doesn't really work like that. And he's like, bro, I need you like tomorrow. And it was really a battle. And so he made you an offer. And so that was like a super high of like, oh my God, this is my way back. And then just within a matter of
a month,
2 months, whatever it was the lowest of lows. And, you know, it's like other guys were leaving and other guys were not being replaced because he thought, you know what, I can just throw other people around and just, you know, that's all it was. And that tires, that high to low mentality is, you know, that's what makes you feel like you're 40 years old.
It's stretching you too thin. It's too much pressure, and you want to be the yes guy. You want to be the yes man. You know, you want to say, yes, I can do that. But at the same time, be realistic.
Right. If you tell a customer no, they always tell you no. You always find a way to say yes, and then you back down their expectations. Like, what is it that they say? Like, oh, better to ask for forgiveness than to ask permission. And it's like, well, how many times can you get away with that?
And think about it logically. How is that? It's gonna that situation you're gonna keep getting thrown into. You know, it's gonna be the next thing that you're gonna get thrown into. You're gonna have to figure out on your own. You know, it's gonna keep screwing you over. And it wasn't just for me to leave for the fact that I wasn't feeling, you know, prepared for this, and I was feeling it was just way unorganized. It's also for the owner too, for them as well. It's, hey, I'm not well equipped to do this type of work just yet. You're throwing me in, and I love that you're trusting me with this stuff, but I'm not at that level yet. You know, I came in with the expectation of doing this, and that, and that's what we talked about. And then I understand times are hard. You know, someone leaves, something happens last minute you weren't expecting, things change, you got to be a little flexible. That's one thing, but don't change things. Don't bring someone in and then throw everything on me. I mean, a situation where I had to send out a quote and I overcharged the guy, a client of ours, because I didn't know fully what I was doing. And I told them that. I said, hey, you know, I need help with this quote, and no one was there to help me. And they were pressuring me. They said, hey, it needs to be done by lunchtime. Sent it out, and we overcharged them a couple grand. You just can't do that. And as soon as that happened, I understood right away, this isn't going to change. And that was tough for me because that was also going from that dynamic of where I used to be in the live event industry to this company, which was my option, my way into the film industry, which, like I mentioned earlier, was my second option outside of high school. That was kind of my last ditch effort. That was my last ditch at the time thing that I was really passionate about, that I could, because I'm a very creative person. I love working on stuff like this. And so that was something that I could implement into my professional career, on that side of things, which was the film industry. And there's definitely could be options down the road. I'm not saying that, but this was kind of my most realistic option to do that, within the time frame that I had at my age right now. Because right now I need to make moves yesterday, and through all that, it just,
I need another margarita yesterday.
Exactly. So it really brought me down. It was really bumming me out, and I didn't want to see what that was going to bring a week from now, and also just the way that I see certain people, how they treat people, how they react, how they're conducting their business, how they talk to me, what kind of stuff they're entrusting me with, what kind of communication there is. There's a lot of, like you said, key factors, the 3 C's, that you look for in companies, and I wasn't finding that there.
It was actually your experiences that led me to create that slogan.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Because every time you tell me, hey, like, this is what really screwed me over, I'd be like, I was Kowalski. Noted.
Noted. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I hope you can take some of that away in that sense as you start to get your professional career, like your actual career started. You can kind of take that away and kind of identify it early, and because realistically, you don't want to be jumping from place to place. You're gonna do it if you have to. But you gotta stick to something. And it definitely takes time, and we all learn our own. And it took me some time to see that. But I'm thankful that I'm seeing it now at this age. I'm not gonna regret it down the road. Now I've got a new career chosen for myself, given that everything works out. With the background checks and the training, all there goes well, and that job goes good, but I'm setting myself up, and you also got to think, it down the road, down the future, all right, it might be rough the first year or two, but down the road it's going to be really good. But then you have to go back to, what are your values with the company that you're working with? What do you want out of your professional life? What's important to you in terms of your work-life balance? Like you're saying, taking the time to be able to go out and do these vacations, and taking time to yourself, and this all ties in this episode, like we've been talking this whole episode of throughout this pandemic. Everyone's been realizing that as well, and I think it all ties in. It's just realizing, make sure you have, what's important to you, jot down some things, some key points in your life. What's important to you? What defines who you are? What are you about? Why are you doing the things you're doing? And what's your plan? How are you going to implement that if you don't have it implemented? And if you do, how are you going to improve on that? And how are you going to, ensure that you're maintaining that? It's respecting your current self and respecting your past decisions as well. This goes in so many parts, so many things in life of, you can't disregard your past self or decisions you've made in the past. I've taken some jobs. I've done some things that I wish I didn't do. Some jobs I wish I didn't take. I've declined some things I wish I didn't decline that probably could have been good offers or could have turned out great down the road. I'll live with that. That's fine. But you got to respect those past decisions. You can't go, and this goes with your job, with relationships, with anything. It's not fair to yourself to discredit your past self. Because if you start discrediting your past self, you cannot validate anything your current self is saying, and you can't even hold yourself to any sort of standard or to any goals that you have down the road. Because if you're going to go and discredit your past self, you might as well stop setting goals and stop having any ambitions at all, because you're just going to discredit yourself in the future. And there's no value in that. You got to respect your past self and understand, most of the time, sometimes we screw up, but you have to think about the mindset that you were in at the time, at the past, back before the pandemic, when you were in high school, when you were in college, when you're, all these different chapters in your life. You might look back and say, yeah, I could have done that better. I could have done this better. I should have done this. but also take a look back and see where it's taken you, the things you've done, the experiences you've had, you know, the friends you've made. Look back at all that, and literally one decision in your life can change all of that. So don't go and discredit that, you know? And I think that applies to so many ways, so many aspects of life. And I love that that kind of ties in. And I feel like that's kind of been the theme of this episode. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, that's just kind of what I see as it. And that would be kind of my takeaway from this episode.
The other thing I would take away is the power of self-reflection is something that I don't think you can overstate, because when you have everything in hindsight, you have an opportunity to learn. But I think oftentimes, and you know, I'm not perfect and I suffer from this a lot of times, but you know, for example, I see a lot of you know, there have been plenty of times where it's just I've gotten angry. I've taken things personally when I shouldn't have, and you know, like you know, it's like those guys that we've worked for, you know, make things personal when they don't have to be, and it always left me petty that they never saw any like repercussions for it, and that's what drove, I think, a lot of that hustle, because I was offended by the fact that I knew I was smarter than that guy. I knew I was more capable than that guy. And I could have taken the company in a new direction, or at least helped. I'm not going to say, okay, I sound cocky right now. I don't mean to say that I would have been the reason we would have done that, because in a global economy, there's so many people that have to help out. But, you know, I could have added a perspective that would have done the company better in the long term. And so that sort of offended who I was as a person, because it felt like everything that I was putting myself out there with nothing and getting nothing in return, and I wasn't seeing it. And so finally I realized, like I said, in late October of 2020, I'm never going to get closure, and I'm never going to get an apology for any of those things. But moreover, you know, I kind of thought about it. I was like, why was I the only other guy that worked there? We had 5 candidates come in 9 months, and all of them left hating this guy. So in reality, I wasn't the bad guy, but I was treating myself like I had to redeem my name for something. So I just sort of, you know, I decided that, you know, I'm done. I'm done thinking about it in terms of like I'm going to get back on someone. I don't want vengeance anymore. I just want a life that's comfortable. I want a life that's sustainable. And that only comes from learning lessons and really having to make big decisions. Like, I think there's a mentality amongst like some of the 18 or 19-year-olds in one of my college classes that no matter what, they can just make easy little decisions here or there, and they can like fix a lot of their stuff. No, you're gonna have to make choices that are difficult, but learning from difficult experiences makes those difficult choices easier to swallow. You know, I mean, leaving my last job that I had last summer, you know, I liked the people there. You know, I was really like the guy that I worked directly under for most of that time. I really liked him. You know, he and I would talk planes and Formula One, and you know, all like, you know, we'd have like physics jokes, which I could tell you right now, but I don't really want to put you to sleep. But you know, it's just I didn't want to leave, but I knew I had to if I was going to be able to complete college classes. So that hard choice of giving up a paycheck to go back to school because I had an objective that I wanted to achieve, that made that decision easier for me. And so that is a powerful tool to take forward. And also, you can look back in those business decisions that you make, or those relationship decisions you make, you'll eventually become a totally different person than who you are now. And if you make the right calls, not saying all of them are the right calls, but if you make the vast majority of the calls being the right ones, yeah, you'll be a different person, but your life is going to have so much more meaning than it once did. It'll be a bigger world, but it'll be one that's just as manageable. So that's another thing that I've taken from our discussions, not just today, but also in the past.
You know what else you can look back on? Our episodes.
Of us, yeah.
You can check us out on Spotify, on our YouTube channel, which if you're watching the live stream right now, you are on our YouTube channel. You can also check out our RSS feed and our Instagram. On Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram, they are just under Rejected Potato Skins. Our links are also on our YouTube channel. If you are listening to our podcast via Spotify or Google Podcast, awesome, you're already there. You can check us out on YouTube. Just look up our name, Rejected Potato Skins. You should be able to find us pretty easy. This has been our first live stream, and I gotta say, I am so happy with the way it went out. Between Edward and I think this, I mean, for me personally, this is easier for me. It takes a lot of stress off, and I am so happy with the format that we have right now on this live stream episode, and I'm really excited to see what we can do with this in the future.
I will also have a better setup with like better internet connection and all my hardware working, because I noticed that watching the stream would freeze from time to time, like because my internet connection.
Here
so
and there.
I never got to respond to maybe some of the chats that I, you know, for the people who were actually saying hello. And don't worry, I did see you. It was just too late for me to respond timely, so I will be better on that one next time, I promise.
I think we also get very into our discussion. I forget to check the chat, but that's also what makes it so authentic with this.
But if you do say hello, we do appreciate it.
Yes, and just know that
if you
it's...
do end up asking questions, we do want to answer them. So
we try
next
to...
time we do this, I promise we will get to those.
We try to look at them, but keep in mind it is kind of you guys listening on us. It is literally a discussion between Edward and I. It is authentic. We do really get into the discussions, so sometimes we'll just start going off on tangents, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll forget that we're even recording. But that's what I love about it. I think that's what makes Rejected Potato Skins Rejected Potato Skins. That's really what makes us. That's the starch of it all.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Edward, what do you do again?
What do I do? I'm glad you asked. This is my charity work. I created a support group called MILF, which stands for the Man I Love Oreos Anonymous Group, where we help Oreo addicts with their addiction. Milk, bring your own milk required.
And I'm Shane. I don't just beat my meat. I truly defeat my meat.
The Nobel Peace Prize will be in the mail shortly. Don't worry.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you guys in 2 weeks on the next episode of Rejected Potato Skins. I hope you guys liked our first installment of the live stream. If you do have any feedback, make sure to leave some comments. We will be checking them out.